Amy Elliott Dunn. August 23, 2010, diary entry. Summer. Birdies. Sunshine. I spent today shuffling around Prospect Park, my skin tender, my bones brittle. Misery battling. It is an improvement, since I spent the previous 3 days in our house in the same crusty pajama set, marking time until 5. Trying to make myself remember the suffering in Darfur. Put things into perspective. Which, I guess, is just further exploiting the people of Darfur. So much has unraveled the past week. I think that's what it is, that it's all happened at once, so I have the emotional bends. Nick lost his job a month ago. The recession is supposed to be winding down, but no one seems to know that. So Nick lost his job. Second round of layoffs, just like he predicted, just a few weeks after the first round. Oops, we didn't fire nearly enough people. Idiots. At first I think Nick might be okay. He makes a massive list of things he's always meant to do. Some of it's tiny stuff. He changes watch batteries and resets clocks, he replaces a pipe beneath our sink. And he repaints all the rooms we painted before and didn't like. Basically, he does a lot of things over. It's nice to take some actual do-overs when you get so few in life. And then he starts on bigger stuff, he reads War and Peace. He flirts with taking Arabic lessons. He spends a lot of time trying to guess what skills will be marketable over the next few decades. It breaks my heart, but I pretend it doesn't, for his sake. I keep asking him, "Are you sure you're okay?" At first I try it seriously, over coffee, eye contact, my hand on his. Then I try it breezily, lightly, in passing. Then I try it tenderly, in bed, stroking his hair. He has the same answer always. I'm fine. I don't really want to talk about it. I wrote a quiz that was perfect for the times. How are you handling your layoff? A. I sit in my pajamas and eat a lot of ice cream. Sulking is therapeutic. B. I write nasty things about my old boss online, everywhere, venting feels great. C. Until a new job comes along, I try to find useful things to do with my newfound time, like learning a marketable language or finally reading War and Peace. It was a compliment to Nick, C was the correct answer, but he just gave a sour smile when I showed it to him. A few weeks in, the bustling stopped, the usefulness stopped. As if he woke up one morning under a decrepit, dusty sign that read, "Why fucking bother?" He went dull-eyed. Now he watches TV. He eats a lot of delivery food, the styrofoam shells propped up near the overflowing trash can. He doesn't talk to me. He behaves as if the act of talking physically pains him and I am a vicious woman to ask it of him. He barely shrugs when I tell him I was laid off last week. "That's awful, I'm sorry," he says. "At least you have your money to fall back on." We have the money. I liked my job, though. It is late afternoon, a beautiful blue day, and our house is dank, thick with the sweet smell of rotting Chinese food, the curtains all drawn over. I begin walking room to air it out, pulling back the drapes, scattering the dust motes. When I reach the darkened den, I stumble over a bag on the floor, and then another and another. Like the cartoon cat who walks into a room full of mousetraps. When I switch on the lights, I see dozens of shopping bags, and they are from places laid-off people don't go. They are the high-end men's stores, the places that hand-tailor suits. Where salespeople carry ties individually, draped over an arm, to male shoppers nestled in leather armchairs. I mean, the stuff is bespoke. What is all this, Nick? For job interviews. If anyone ever starts hiring again. You needed so much. We do have the money. He smiles at me grimly, his arms crossed. Do you at least want to hang them up? Several of the plastic coverings have been chewed apart by Bleecker. A tiny mound of cat vomit lies near one $3,000 suit. A tailored white shirt is covered in orange fur where the cat has napped. Not really, nope, he says. He grins at me. I have never been a nag. I have always been rather proud of my unnagginess. So it pisses me off that Nick is forcing me to nag. I am willing to live with a certain amount of sloppiness, of laziness, of the lackadaisical life. I realize that I am more type A than Nick, and I try to be careful not to inflict my neat freaky, to-do list nature on him. Nick is not the kind of guy who is going to think to vacuum or clean out the fridge. He truly doesn't see that kind of stuff. Fine. Really. But I do like a certain standard of living. I think it's fair to say the garbage shouldn't literally overflow. And the plates shouldn't sit in the sink for a week with smears of bean burrito dried on them. That's just being a good grown-up roommate. And Nick's not doing anything anymore, so I have to nag, and it pisses me off. You are turning me into what I never have been and never wanted to be, a nag, because you are not living up to your end of a very basic compact. Don't do that. It's not okay to do. I know that losing a job is incredibly stressful, and particularly for a man. They say it can be like a death in the family. And especially for a man like Nick, who has always worked. So I take a giant breath, roll my anger up into a red rubber ball, and mentally kick it out into space. Well, do you mind if I hang these up? Just so they stay nice for you? Knock yourself out. His and her layoffs. Isn't that sweet? I know we are luckier than most. I go online and check my trust fund whenever I get nervous. I never called it a trust fund before, Nick did. It's actually not that grand. I mean, it's nice, it's great, $7.85, $4.04 that I have in savings thanks to my parents. But it's not the kind of money that allows you to stop working forever, especially not in New York. My parents' whole point was to make me feel secure enough so I didn't need to make choices based on money, in schooling, in career. But not so well off that I could be tempted to check out. Nick makes fun, but I think it's a great gesture for parents to make. And appropriate, considering they plagiarized my childhood for the books. But I'm still feeling sick about the layoff, our layoffs. When my dad calls and asks if he and Mom can stop by. They need to talk with us. This afternoon. Now, actually, if it's okay. Of course it's okay, I say, and in my head I think, cancer, cancer, cancer. My parents appear at the door looking like they've put up an effort. My father is thoroughly pressed and tucked and shined, impeccable except for the grooves beneath his eyes. My mother is in one of her bright purple dresses that she always wore to speeches and ceremonies, back when she got those invitations. She says the color demands confidence of the wearer. They look great, but they seem ashamed. I usher them to the sofa, and we all sit silently for a second. Kids, your mother and I, we seem to have, my father finally starts, then stops to cough. He places his hands on his knees, his big knuckles pale. Well, we seem to have gotten ourselves into a hell of a financial mess. I don't know what my reaction is supposed to be, shocked, consoling, disappointed. My parents have never confessed any troubles to me. I don't think they've had many troubles. The fact of the matter is, we've been irresponsible, Mary Beth continues. We've been living the past decade like we were making the same kind of money we did for the previous 2 decades, and we weren't. We haven't made half that, but we were in denial. We were, optimistic may be a kind way to put it. We just kept thinking the next Amy book would do the trick. But that hasn't happened. And we kept making bad decisions. We invested foolishly. We spent foolishly. And now, we're basically broke, Rand says. Our house, as well as this house, it's all underwater. I'd thought, assumed, they'd bought this house for us outright. I had no idea they were making payments on it. I feel a sting of embarrassment that I am as sheltered as Nick says. Like I said, we made some serious judgment errors, Mary Beth says. We should write a book, Amazing Amy and the Adjustable Rate Mortgage. We would flunk every quiz. We'd be the cautionary tale. Amy's friend, Wendy want it now. Harry head in the sand, Rand adds. So what happens next? I ask. That is entirely up to you, my dad says. My mom fishes out a homemade pamphlet from her purse and sets it on the table in front of us. Bars and graphs and pie charts created on their home computer. It kills me to picture my parents squinting over the user's manual, trying to make their proposition look pretty for me. Mary Beth starts the pitch. We wanted to ask if we could borrow some money from your trust while we figure out what to do with the rest of our lives. My parents sit in front of us like two eager college kids hoping for their first internship. My father's knee jiggles until my mother places a gentle fingertip on it. Well, the trust fund is your money, so of course you can borrow from it, I say. I just want this to be over, the hopeful look on my parents' faces, I can't stand it. How much do you think you need to pay everything off and feel comfortable for a while? My father looks at his shoes. My mother takes a deep breath. 650,000, she says. Oh. It is all I can say. It is almost everything we have. Amy, maybe you and I should discuss, Nick begins. No, we can do this, I say. I'll just go grab my checkbook. Actually, Mary Beth says, if you could wire it to our account tomorrow, that would be best. Otherwise there's a 10-day waiting period. That's when I know they are in serious trouble.
Nick done. 2 days gone. I woke up on the pull-out couch in the Elliott suite, exhausted. They'd insisted I stay over, my home had not yet been reopened to me. Insisted with the same urgency they once applied to snapping up the check at dinner, hospitality as a ferocious force of nature. You must let us do this for you. So I did. I spent the night listening to their snores through the bedroom door. One steady and deep, a hearty lumberjack of a snore. The other gaspy and arrhythmic, as if the sleeper were dreaming of drowning. I could always turn myself off like a light. I'm going to sleep, I'd say, my hands in prayer position against my cheek. Zzzzzzz, the deep sleep of a NyQuil child. While my insomniac wife fussed in bed next to me. Last night, though, I felt like Amy, my brain still going, my body on edge. I was, most of the time, a man who was literally comfortable in his own skin. Amy and I would sit on the couch to watch TV, and I'd turn to melted wax, my wife twitching and shifting constantly next to me. I asked her once if she might have restless leg syndrome, an ad for the disease was running. The actors' faces all furrowed in distress as they shook their calves and rubbed their thighs, and Amy said, I have restless everything syndrome. I watched the ceiling of the hotel room turn gray, then pink, then yellow. And finally pulled myself up to see the sun blaring right at me across the river again, a solar 3rd degree. Then the names popped in my head, bing. Hillary Handy. Such an adorable name to be accused of such disturbing acts. Desi Collings, a former obsessive who lived an hour away. I had claimed them both as mine. It is a do-it-yourself era, healthcare, real estate, police investigation. Go online and fucking figure it out for yourself because everyone's overworked and understaffed. I was a journalist. I spent over 10 years interviewing people for a living and getting them to reveal themselves. I was up to the task, and Mary Beth and Rand believed so too. I was thankful they let me know I was still in their trust, the husband under a wispy cloud of suspicion. Or do I fool myself to use the word wispy? The Days Inn had donated an underused ballroom to serve as the Find Amy Dunn headquarters. It was unseemly, a place of brown stains and canned smells. But just after dawn, Mary Beth set about Pygmalioning it. Vacuuming and soni wiping, arranging bulletin boards and phone banks, hanging a large headshot of Amy on one wall. The poster with Amy's cool, confident gaze, those eyes that followed you, looked like something from a presidential campaign. In fact, by the time Mary Beth was done, the whole room buzzed with efficiency. The urgent hopefulness of a seriously underdog politician with a lot of true believers refusing to give up. Just after 10 a.m., Bonnie arrived, talking into her cell phone. She patted me on the shoulder and began fiddling with a printer. The volunteers arrived in bunches. Go and a half dozen of our late mother's friends. 5 40-something women, 2 of them, slender and blonde and tanned, vying for the lead, the others cheerfully resigned to second string. A group of loudmouthed white-haired old ladies, each trying to talk over the next, a few of them texting. The kind of elderly people who have a baffling amount of energy, so much youthful vigor you had to wonder if they were trying to rub it in. Only one man showed up, a good-looking guy about my age, well-dressed, alone, failing to realize that his presence could use some explaining. I watched loner guy as he sniffed around the pastries, sneaking glances at the poster of Amy. Bonnie finished setting up the printer, grabbed a brandy-looking muffin, and came to stand by me. Do you guys keep an eye on everyone who reports to volunteer? I asked. I mean, in case it's someone who seems to have a suspicious amount of interest. Absolutely. She broke off the edges of the muffin and popped them in her mouth. She dropped her voice. But to tell the truth, serial killers watch the same TV shows we do. They know that we know they like to insert themselves into the investigation. That's it, yup. She nodded. So they're more careful about that kind of thing now. But yeah, we sift through all the kinda weirdos. To make sure they're just, kinda weirdos. I raised an eyebrow. Like, Gilpin and I were lead detectives on the Kayla Holman case a few years back. Kayla Holman? I shook my head, no bell. Anyway, you'll find some ghouls get attracted to stuff like this. And watch out for those 2. Bonnie pointed toward the 2 pretty 40-something women. Because they look like the type to get a little too interested in consoling the worried husband. Oh, come on. You'd be surprised. Handsome guy like you. It happens. She'll work hard, though, she'll be little miss involved, Bonnie said. So that's good. How'd the Kayla Holman case turn out? I asked. She shook her head, no. For more women filed in, passing a bottle of sunblock among themselves, slathering it on arms and shoulders and noses. The room smelled like coconuts. By the way, Nick, Bonnie said. Remember when I asked if Amy had friends in town, what about Noelle Hawthorne? You didn't mention her. She left us 2 messages. I gave her a blank stare. Noelle in your complex? Mother of triplets? No, they aren't friends. Oh, funny. She definitely seems to think they are. That happens to Amy a lot, I said. She talks to people once, and they latch on. It's creepy. That's what her parents said. I debated asking Bonnie directly about Hillary Handy and Desi Collins. Then I decided not to. I'd look better if I were the one leading the charge. I wanted Rand and Mary Beth to see me in action hero mode. I couldn't shake the look Mary Beth had given me. The police definitely seem to think it's close to home. People think they know her because they read the books growing up, I said. I can see that, Bonnie said, nodding. People want to believe they know other people. Parents want to believe they know their kids. Wives want to believe they know their husbands. Another hour and the volunteer center began feeling like a family picnic. A few of my old girlfriends dropped by to say hello, introduce their kids. One of my mom's best friends, Vicky, came by with 3 of her granddaughters, bashful tweens all in pink. Grandkids. My mom had talked about grandkids a lot, as if it were doubtlessly going to happen. Whenever she bought a new piece of furniture, she'd explain she favored that particular style because it'll work for when there's grandkids. She wanted to live to see some grandkids. All her friends had some to spare. Amy and I once had my mom and go over for dinner to mark the cafe's biggest week ever. I'd announced that we had reason to celebrate, and Mom had leapt from her seat, burst into tears, and hugged Amy, who also began weeping, murmuring from beneath my mom's smothering nuzzle, "He's talking about the cafe, he's just talking about the cafe." And then my mom tried hard to pretend she was just as excited about that. "Plenty of time for babies," she'd said in her most consoling voice, a voice that just made Amy start to cry again. Which was strange, since Amy had decided she didn't want kids, and she'd reiterated this fact several times. But the tears gave me a perverse wedge of hope that maybe she was changing her mind. Because there wasn't really plenty of time. Amy was 37 when we moved to Carthage. She'd be 39 in October. And then I thought, we'll have to throw some fake birthday party or something if this is still going on. We'll have to mark it somehow, some ceremony, for the volunteers, the media. Something to revive attention. I'll have to pretend to be hopeful. "The prodigal son returns," said a nasally voice. And I turned to see a skinny man in a stretched-out t-shirt next to me, scratching a handlebar mustache. My old friend Stux Buckley, who had taken to calling me a prodigal son despite not knowing how to pronounce the word, or what its meaning was. I assume he meant it as a fancy synonym for jackass. Stux Buckley, it sounded like a baseball player's name, and that was what Stux was supposed to be. Except he never had the talent, just the hard wish. He was the best in town growing up, but that wasn't good enough. He got the shock of his life in college when he was cut from the team, and it all went to shit after. Now he was an odd-job stoner with twitchy moods. He had dropped by the cafe a few times to try to pick up work, but he shook his head at every crappy day job chore I offered. Chewing on the inside of his cheek, annoyed. "Come on, man, what else you got to have something else." "Stux," I said by way of greeting, waiting to see if he was in a friendly mood. "Here the police are botching this royally," he said, tucking his hands into his armpits. "It's a little early to say that. Come on, man, these little pansy-ass searches. I've seen more effort put into finding the mayor's dog." Stux's face was sunburned, I could feel the heat coming off him as he leaned in closer. "Why ain't they rounded up some people? Plenty of people in town to choose from." "They ain't brought a single one in. Not a single one. What about the Blue Book boys?" That's what I asked the lady detective. What about the Blue Book boys? She wouldn't even answer me. What are the Blue Book boys? A gang? All those guys got laid off from the Blue Book plant last winter. No severance, nothing. You see some of the homeless guys wandering around town in packs, looking real pissed. Probably Blue Book boys. I'm still not following you, Blue Book plant. You know. River Valley Printworks. On the edge of town. They made those blue books you used for essays and shit in college. Oh. I didn't know. Now colleges use computers, whatnot, so, fwet. Bye-bye, Blue Book boys. God, this whole town is shutting down, I muttered. The Blue Book boys, they drink, drug, harass people. I mean, they did that before, but they always had to stop, go back to work on Monday. Now they just run wild. Stux grinned his row of chipped teeth at me. He had paint flecks in his hair, his summer job since high school, house painting. I specialize in trim work, he'd say, and wait for you to get the joke. If you didn't laugh, he'd explain it. So, the cops been out to the mall? Stux asked. I started a confused shrug. Shit, man, didn't you used to be a reporter? Stux always seemed angry at my former occupation, like it was a lie that had stood too long. The Blue Book boys, they all made themselves a nice little town over in the mall. Squatting. Drug deals. The police run them out every once in a while, but they're always back next day. Anyway, that's what I told the lady detective, search the fucking mall. On my drive to the afternoon search area, I phoned Bonnie, started in as soon as she said hello. Why isn't the mall being searched? The mall will be searched, Nick. We have cops heading over there right now. Oh. Okay. Because a buddy of mine. Stux, I know him. He was talking about all the Blue Book boys, I know. Trust us, Nick, we got this. We want to find Amy as much as you do. Okay, thanks. My righteousness deflated, I gulped down my giant styrofoam cup of coffee and drove to my assigned area. 3 spots were being searched this afternoon. The Gully Boat Launch, now known as the place Nick spent the morning of, unseen by anyone. The Miller Creek Woods, which hardly deserved the name, you could see fast food restaurants through the tree-line. And Wolke Park, a nature spot with hiking and horse trails. I was assigned to Wolke Park. When I arrived, a local officer was addressing a crowd of about 12 people. All thick legs, sunglasses, and hats, zinc oxide on noses. It looked like opening day of camp. 2 different TV crews were out to capture images for local stations. It was the July 4th weekend. Amy would be squeezed in between state fair stories and barbecue cook-offs. One cub reporter kept mosquitoing around me, peppering me with pointless questions. My body going immediately stiff, inhuman, with the attention, my concerned face looking fake. A waft of horse manure hung in the air. The reporters soon left to follow the volunteers into the trails. What kind of journalist finds a suspicious husband ripe for the picking and leaves? A bad, low-paid journalist left behind after all the decent ones have been laid off. A young uniformed cop told me to stand, right here. At the entry to the various trails, near a bulletin board that held a mess of ancient flyers. As well as a missing person notice for Amy, my wife staring out of that photo. She'd been everywhere today, following me. What should I be doing? I asked the officer. I feel like a jackass here. I need to do something. Somewhere in the woods, a horse whinnied mournfully. We really need you right here, Nick. Just be friendly, be encouraging, he said. And pointed to the bright orange thermos next to me. Offer water. Just point anyone who comes in my way. He turned and walked toward the stables. It occurred to me that they were intentionally barring me from any possible crime scene. I wasn't sure what that meant. As I stood aimlessly, pretending to busy myself with the cooler, a latecomer SUV rolled in, shiny red as nail polish. Out poured the 40-somethings from headquarters. A woman waved at the fumes elaborately. She glanced at me out of the corner of her eye. Please don't talk to me, lady. Hi, Nick, I'm Shauna Kelly. I'm so sorry. She had an unnecessarily loud voice, a bit of a bray, like some enchanted, hot donkey. I felt a flick of alarm as Shauna's friend started ambling down the trail, casting girl-clique glances back toward us, the couple. I offered what I had, my thanks, my water, my lip-swallowing awkwardness. Shauna didn't make any move to leave, even though I was staring ahead, toward the trail where her friends had disappeared. I hope you have friends, relatives, who are looking out for you during this, Nick, she said, swatting a horsefly. Men forget to take care of themselves. Comfort food is what you need. We've been eating mostly cold cuts, you know, fast, easy. I could still taste the salami in the back of my throat, the fumes floating up from my belly. I became aware that I hadn't brushed my teeth since the morning. Oh, you poor man. Well, cold cuts, that won't do it. She shook her head. You need to keep up your strength. Now, you are lucky, because I make a mean chicken Frito pie. You know what? I am going to put that together and drop it by the volunteer center tomorrow. You can just microwave it whenever you want a nice warm dinner. Oh, that sounds like too much trouble, really. We're fine. We really are. You'll be more fine after you eat a good meal, she said. Silence. She tried another angle. I really hope it doesn't end up having anything to do with our homeless problem, she said. I swear, I have filed complaint after complaint. One broke into my garden last month. My motion sensor went off, so I peeked outside and there he was, kneeling in the dirt, just guzzling tomatoes. Gnawing at them like apples, his face and shirt were covered in juice and seeds. I tried to scare him off, but he loaded up at least 20 before he ran off. They were on the edge anyway, those blue book guys. No other skills. I felt a sudden affinity for the troop of blue book men, pictured myself walking into their bitter encampment, waving a white flag. I am your brother, I used to work in print too. The computers stole my job too. Don't tell me you're too young to remember blue books, Nick, Shauna was saying. I'm so old, I'd forgotten about blue books until you reminded me. She laughed. What are you, 31, 32? Try 34. A baby. The trio of energetic elderly ladies arrived just then, tromping toward us, one working her cell phone, all wearing sturdy canvas garden skirts and keds. They nodded at me respectfully, then flicked a glance of disapproval when they saw Shauna. We looked like a couple hosting a backyard barbecue. We looked inappropriate. Please go away, Shauna, I thought. So anyway, the homeless guys, they can be really aggressive, like, threatening, toward women, Shauna said. I mentioned it to Detective Boney, but I get the feeling she doesn't like me very much. Why do you say that? I already knew what she was going to say, the mantra of all attractive women. Women don't like me all that much. She shrugged. Just one of those things. Does Amy have a lot of friends in town? A number of women, friends of my mom's, friends of Go's, had invited Amy to book clubs and Amway parties and girls' nights at Chili's. Amy had predictably declined all but a few, which she attended and hated. We ordered a million little fried things and drank cocktails made from ice cream. Shauna was watching me, wanting to know about Amy, wanting to be grouped together with my wife, who would hate her. I think she may have the same problem you do, I said in a clipped voice. She smiled. Leave, Shauna. It's hard to come to a new town, she said. Hard to make friends, the older you get. Is she your age? 38. That seemed to please her too. Go away. Smart man, likes them older women. She pulled a cell phone out of her giant chartreuse handbag. Come here, she said. Give me a big chicken Frito casserole smile. I wanted to smack her, right then, the obliviousness, the girliness of her, trying to get an ego stroke from the husband of a missing woman. I swallowed my rage, tried to hit reverse, tried to overcompensate and be nice, so I smiled robotically. And took a photo with her phone, the fake camera click sound waking me. She turned the phone around. Looking at my smarmy grin, my hooded eyes, I thought, would hate this guy.